Although I find that the Start screen can be useful for creating new documents or for opening recent files, I prefer to manage all of my different images in a separate application such as Adobe Bridge or Adobe Lightroom or Lightroom Classic. Now, in Photoshop, I can click Open and then navigate to the different folders here, but it's actually quite limited. Like, for example, I can't see multiple folders at one time. It's more difficult to move files around while I'm in here and everything. So because it's so limited, I'm going to click Cancel, and instead I'll choose File and then Browse in Bridge. So Bridge is a separate application that you can download and install as part of either the Creative Cloud for Photography program or with a Creative Cloud subscription. And one of the advantages of using Bridge is that it's a file browser. And so it can display not only all of the photographs that are in a folder, such as this opening files folder, but if we had a logo created in Illustrator or an InDesign document or video files or even a Word document, we would be able to see all of those different file types here in Bridge. So clicking on a different folder will show us the contents of the folder in the folder area. If I wanted to, I could select an image and drag and drop it into another folder. I won't do that now, but you should know that you can move around the contents. And in the upper right, you can see there's a new folder icon, so I can even add new folders here. I can also use the slider down at the bottom if I want to change the size of the thumbnail and make them a little bit larger, and I can change the way that they're viewed. I can view them in a grid or with additional details if I want to. For now, I'm going to choose the second one to just view them as thumbnails. Now, when you select an image, you can see that image larger over here in the preview area. And in fact, I can click if I want to zoom into a specific area in the image in order to check focus. I can also view additional metadata information as well as add keywords. On the left side, I can filter the contents that are in a folder. I can make collections, and I even have some additional export options. Now, if you're interested in more in-depth information about Adobe Bridge, be sure to check out my Bridge CC Essential Training course. For now, I'm going to double-click on the Arch JPEG in order to open it in Photoshop. When I close this image, again, we see the home screen. But if I want to return to Bridge, I can either use the File menu and choose Browse in Bridge, or I can use the keyboard shortcut Command-Option-O on Mac or Control-Alt-O on Windows. Or if I prefer, I can use the keyboard shortcut Command-Tab on Mac to cycle through my open applications, or I could use Alt+Tab on Windows. Now, if you're working with RAW files that have been captured with digital cameras, then you can take advantage of the Camera Raw plugin when you open an image from Bridge. So here I'll double-click on the wave.dng file, and that will automatically open it in Adobe Camera Raw. In order to see this plugin full screen, I'll click on the icon above the preview area, and then let's just make some quick changes. I'll click on the Auto button and see if that improves it. It did, but let's bring down the highlights a little bit more. I'll bring up the shadows. I want to add maybe a little bit of texture to the image, as well as a little bit of clarity, and maybe just bring down the exposure a little bit. And it's pretty cool, so I'm just going to warm it up by bringing the temperature slider over to the right. So if I tap the P key, we can see a before. If I tap the P key again, we can see an after, and we can see how easy it is to make changes to our images in Camera Raw. Now, the primary advantage of using Camera Raw is that these changes are all non-destructive, and they're made to the raw data, so we're working with the highest quality information. Once we're happy with our changes, we can click to open the image into Photoshop and then start working on our file. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Adobe Camera Raw, again, you can watch my Adobe Camera Raw Essential Training course. All right, let's close this file, and I'm not going to save changes to it. I'll return to Bridge by using the keyboard shortcut Command-Tab, and I want to point out that since we've made changes, there's been a little icon added to the thumbnail in Bridge telling me that I've applied settings through Adobe Camera Raw. Okay, 2 quick shortcuts before we wrap up. If you have a JPEG file that you want to open in Camera Raw so that you can use all of those settings, you can select the JPEG and then click on the Edit in Camera Raw icon up in the top of Bridge. When I select that, we can see that it's open in Camera Raw and I have access to all of those options. Now, I don't have the benefits of the non-compressed raw data like I had in the other image, but I can still use all of these editing features to make changes. All right, I'll hit cancel. And the last shortcut, if you've already made edits to a raw file and you simply want to open it in Photoshop without bringing up the Camera Raw dialog box again, just hold down the Shift key and double-click on the image. That bypasses Adobe Camera Raw and will open it directly into Photoshop. So, in short, for those of us who work with several different file types, using a file browser like Bridge to manage our documents are going to give us a much more visually rich and robust way to navigate and find those images that we want to open in Photoshop.